Hi, this is Shilpa here, the author of HomeoQuest, and today I want to actually touch upon one key question that I get all the time from students, new practitioners, and that is what repertory or what repertories do you use when you're solving a case? How do you know when to choose what, and how do you actually use that? So, let me give you a broad spectrum aspect here. Now, as you realized, if you look into your library, you have loads of repertories in Metroamerica to choose from. You have the core library, the essential library, and the contemporary libraries, right? However, what's important is when you're looking at it doesn't necessarily mean more is better, all right? So when you're looking at a patient, you might have to, divide that case into two prominent parts. Is it a case with predominant mentals, or is it a case with predominant physicals and pathologicals? And there's a reason for that. So when I see a case with predominant mentals, I generally would go and choose repertories which are more focused on the mind. So such as the complete repertory, the Kent's repertory, I would choose something like, Jeremy Sher's Q repertory, or even something like the Robert sensation as if, Nair's repertory. So these are really wonderful repertories when you have more focus on the emotional and the mental symptoms. However, if you have a patient with lots of physicals and lots of pathologicals, then I would choose repertories which have a clinical focus, and I would avoid repertories that do not have that. And so in that case, I would go and choose repertories such as the Bonninghausen repertory, or the Boricki, or the Bogers, the Fateks repertory, and the Clark's clinical repertory. These are perfect. These are wonderful repertories which have a very strong clinical and pathological focus. And that's what I want to do today. I want to give you an example here. And this time we're looking at an example by Dr. Fatek. So we have a case study here. He said, I've always found it much safer to rely upon the generalities rather than the particulars. Even if there are no generalities in a case, I often generalize a particular symptom, and I found this much more successful. So in a way, I follow Bonninghausen method, and I shall give you a case to illustrate the idea. So Fadak had a patient who came to him with a very troublesome symptom. He said he has profuse salivation on coughing. And on coughing, the saliva used to dribble from the mouth. He had no other symptom, and Fatak had to prescribe him on this one symptom only. And he looked into his repertory and he found 3 remedies under that rubric. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go into our repertory search, and I'm going to choose only Fatak's repertory here. Just because we're looking at a Fatak's case, but in general I would choose my, basically all my clinical books such as Bonninghausen, Boricki, Fatak, and so on. And in this case, I've put in saliva and cough. And when you do that, you have 2 rubrics coming up here. And this is the rubric that Fatak was talking about, salivation increased cough with. And again, he found there were 4 remedies there: Amon-Muir, Lachesis, Thuya, and Veretra. And then there is another rubric where cough, salivation runs again, the same 4 rubrics here, the same 4 remedies here. All right. Now let's see what happens when he does that. These are very tiny rubrics, very specific particular rubric. Let's see what happens here. So when he did that, he tried the remedies one by one, but he found no result at all. So what he did was he generalized. And this is absolutely the way to go. You have to break a small rubric into 2 large general components. And what he did was he used coughing aggravates and he combined it with salivation. Let's do what he did. So we go to the repertory search and we do salivation as the big rubric. I've only chosen Fatak's here. And in salivation, you have an interesting rubric, salivation, increased salivation, 24 remedies there. Let's select that and we'll start repertorizing. So that's where it is, salivation, 24 rubrics, 24 remedies. And then he took the other one, and that was coughing aggravates. And in coughing aggravates, as you know, Fatak has basically alphabetical rubrics. So if you go down, you see coughing aggravates 20 remedies in there, and you use that, and we have coughing aggravates. So these two rubrics taken from FATIC, and if you use the repertorization strategy to coverage, because we want remedies that are covered by both these rubrics, you have about 6 remedies, and the topmost comes up as Nux vomica. All right, let's see what FATIC does. So 5 remedies came up for him, and then out of which Nux vomica came out prominently. I gave the patient Nux vomica, which completely cured him. That was how it was. Now I'll give you another interesting aspect here. All right, let's go one bit further. And what I did here is I put coughing aggravates, and this time I chose all the repertories in our database. All right, I did not just choose my clinical repertories. I just choose all the repertories, and then you can see there are so many rubrics and so many remedies coming up from Complete, from Kent, from Bowdger's, and so on. Obviously, that's what happens. Now, if you look at coughing aggravate in Complete repertory, what happens is if you check all the remedies here, and you see there is no Nux vomica. Interesting, isn't it? And then if you look at, say, Kent coughing aggravates, there are only 8. FATIC had 20, and in this, again, if you check, there is no Nux vomica. However, Nux vomica was the key remedy that came up in coughing aggravates in FATIC, and that was what really helped the patient. So you see, it's not necessary that all the big books and all the big repertories will have everything there. Remember, all these clinical repertories are so significant because they would have something clinical from that author, distilled remedies that have clinically been proved in those repertories. Now, I'll give you another example. Coughing aggravates, and you have only 14 remedies in Bowdger's repertory. And Bowdger's has Nux vomica. And FATIC was a great fan of Bowdger, and he used a lot of his inputs, but he added 5 or 6 more remedies into that picture because it's a much more contemporary book than Bowdger's. So you see, when you use these clinical books, that's how it stands out. So do not underestimate. Do not think if you're relying on one big repertory, you have it all. No. You have to have these range of authors and these range of repertories and Mater Medica with their unique clinical works and clinical distillation of their research and their hundreds and thousands of patients to be able to tap into them and get the best for our patients. And that's the beauty of being able to have these different books in our libraries and have these different books at our fingertips. And so that's what my tip of the day is. Always remember, choose books that are very specific for the patient you have in front of you. Choose books which will be suited best to that particular patient, and then give the best to your patients. All right, so hope that makes sense, and hope that helps you understand a small repertory book like FATIC is great. A small repertory book like Bowdger, Repertory Synoptic Key, is great when it comes to clinically pathological or very physical rubrics or conditions, and just as much as the big repertories, the Kents, the Complete, they're much better when you have mental rubrics. So give your patients the best of your books, and hope to see you next time. Thank you very much.